Welcome back, everybody, to the Rock and Blues Experience. And coming up on this edition of the show, I'm joined by Joanne Shaw Taylor as we look ahead to the release of her 10th studio album. It is called Black and Gold. It is released this week on June 6th, and it is another sumptuous collection of blues, rock, and pop and Americana, all produced, of course, by the acclaimed producer, Kevin Shirley. Now, ahead of that, let's take a look first, though, at what's making the front pages of the music press this month. Now, Candice Night joined me recently. She's just released Sea Glass, her third solo album, and she's also celebrating 30 years since her recording debut when she appeared as a writer and performer on Rainbow's final studio album called Stranger in Our Soul, which, by the way, has become something of a real cult favorite with Rainbow fans over the last years. Anyway, here's a clip from that feature with Candice talking about how it all began. Your debut, Stranger in Us All, where you wrote 4 of the songs, you sang on Ariel, you sang on Black Masquerade, you sang on Wolf to the Moon and Hall of the Mountain King. Did you think at that time that this is going to be the beginnings of what has been a very fruitful and successful career?
No, and anything that I ever think about planning to happen like that never does. And then the things that I think I am never, ever going to do, somehow life makes me take a left turn and wind up right in the lap of whatever that thing is that I have fear, or it's such life lessons. When I was in university, I pushed off taking, speech taking, public speaking taking until the very, very last courses because I was terrified to talk in front of people, in front of large groups of people.
Sure.
So life says front and center stage for you. So you can learn your lesson. No, I never would have thought that. And again, time goes so fast when you say 30 years. It's mind boggling how quickly you blink and decades just go by so quickly. But I remember those days like they were yesterday. And honestly, like everything in my life with Richie, everything has been this very natural evolution. So I honestly, at that point, just thought I was helping out my husband to be, but boyfriend, I guess, at the time,
Yeah.
I lived in, whatever we were, defying definition. But, when he had called me up and saw that I was, a closet poet with my journals and my poetry books and always kept them locked in a closet so no one could see them or read them. And he knew that I would be singing around the house or around the hotel room when he was traveling. And so when he was having a hard time coming up with lyrics, or the writer was the band was having a hard time, and Richie called me and I was at home, our home, and he said, I'm going to fly in a professional lyric writer tomorrow. We're getting the plane ticket now, unless you can come up with something for this backing track. And back in the days, we didn't have cell phones. So we would play the tape recorder over the phone and I listened to it.
Brilliant.
And I took the ferry up to see them in Massachusetts, where they were staying, and it was an hour and 15 minutes on the ferry. And in that time, with the sunshine on your face on the top deck on the ferry and the wind in your hair and listening, just hearing the music for an hour and 15 minutes, just came up with 14 verses and drove on to the other side after getting off the ferry. And I said, all right, well, on my notebook, here's what I came up with, guys. And the producer took my notebook and circled the 4 that he liked the best, and the other 2 he pieced together as the chorus and said, cancel the plane ticket for the other lyric writer. We've got it.
It's brilliant. Well, that was Candice Night. Her new album, Sea Glass, is out now. You can catch the full edition of that on the website, www.therockandbluesexperience.com, or on the YouTube channel or Facebook pages. Now, it's hard to believe, isn't it? The guitar icon, Eric Johnson, was 70 years old last birthday. He was on the show recently as we talked about the reunion with Joe Satriani and Steve Vai in G3 and that recent G3 reunion live album, which is also out now. We also went right the way back to his childhood days. And in this clip, Eric is talking about sneaking out the house as a teenager, like we all did, to go to the local clubs and the blues clubs, and the night that he met and he jammed with the legendary Johnny Winter. Like so many kids, certainly it seems prodigies of the time, you used to sneak out the house when nobody was looking, when you were in your teenage years, down to the Jade room on a Tuesday night to sit in there and just sort of stare at everybody to just watch. I mean, for somebody that young, because you were quite young, getting in there and sitting down and seeing all this live music for the first time. I mean, how did it make you feel?
A guitar player named Johnny Richardson, and he was great. I owe a lot to him on learning to play guitar. I don't think if he knew it, but I'd go down there Tuesday night and hear him play in this band, and I'd just marvel at his playing. He's one of the best players in Austin. And it was just, I was 14 years old, but the club would let me in if I'd just stay in the back, and just like... listen. They didn't want me up at the bar or dancing with all the older women, I guess. I don't know. But,
I love it.
Yeah.
When you think about it, the young talents and those prodigies, not many of them got to do what you did literally within 12 months. You're already in a band, Mariani, it was at the time, and you end up jamming and hanging out with Johnny Winter. I mean, most kids would have been so starstruck they wouldn't have been able to actually speak or pick an instrument up, but you're up there jamming together. And
well, that was a big highlight for me, getting to meet him. It was great. And I'd seen him play live before. He was amazing. When he first came out, he was so raw blues too. He played just a guitar straight in the amp and sang, and it was just very, very different for the time,
Yeah. And what was it he said about you? He said, when I heard him play when he was 16 years of age, this is him talking about you, I wished I'd been able to play like that when I was his age. The compliments and the superlatives being offered up for you right from an early age. I mean, some people it would have maybe affected, or it would have added increased pressure, but it didn't seem to do that to you. But, for somebody of his stature to say that must have made you feel like you're walking on air.
It was a great night for me when I got to meet him, and he played my guitar and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, that was Eric Johnson. And again, that future is available in full to watch on the website or YouTube channels. And that brings us to Joanne Shaw Taylor, who releases her new album, Black and Gold, this week. It's a 10th studio album. Joanne joined me this week and we reflected on this album and the last 2 decades of acclaimed writing and performing. And we look ahead as well to the recently announced batch of tour dates in the UK, beginning in September, and life on the road with Hank, including the possibility of the release of his very own merchandising line. No word though yet on whether Hank will be doing VIP meet and greets. He will be on tour, and there will be many people hoping they get a chance to meet and greet. Here though is Joanne Shaw Taylor. We are at a landmark moment in your life and in your career. Now, you celebrated your 40th birthday earlier this year in February, and you're about to release a 10th studio album since 2009. So do you feel at the moment this great sense of achievement for what you've accomplished so far?
I've never really thought about it, to be honest. I mean, there are moments I look back and go, it's been long, you know. It's when you think back to all the shows and all the sleeping in airports and all the 4 a.m. wake-ups and, you know, you realise, God, I've done a lot of work. And not work, I've done a lot of travelling in the last 16 years. I think more with this, I was more excited for what comes next. It felt a bit like nicely wrapping up the first decade of recording and going into a fresh decade of recording and a fresh decade of aging. So it felt like a new beginning, I suppose, more than anything.
You acquire something different getting older as a woman. That was one of your quotes. What is it you think that you acquire specifically as a woman?
I mean, I can't say that this is actually true. It's just been my experience, and obviously I only have the experience of life.
Obviously.
But so maybe I'm wrong, and would love your opinion on it. I think for women, there seems to be a census from talking to how I feel and with girlfriends that I think women get more comfortable in themselves as they get older. I think men have a bit more, maybe natural, not necessarily confidence. Obviously, every individual's different, but particularly women in a male-dominated industry, I think. Because women tend to be more sexualized in their 20s and 30s than maybe men are. And not to say that, but, well, maybe, yeah, I think at some point, unfortunately, still in the 40s, it feels like society deems women not attractive anymore because they're 40. Heaven forbid anyone
really
be 40.
I think that's changed. But I think that's changed.
I think it's changing a bit, and I think that that's really been helpful by women. Helen Mirren and Kate Winslet, and we have these fabulous, beautiful women and Cameron Diaz, Pamela Anderson. You know, she's hit the press a lot for not wearing makeup on the red carpet. You know, I think a lot more confident women are coming through, which of course inspires my generation and younger. But no, I do think women tend to get more of a, oh, sod it. You know, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. If I wear something to make myself feel sexy, people will say I'm asking for attention, and if I don't wear something sexy enough, people say I'm not sexy, and you just get to an age where you're like, you know what, I'm just going to be myself, and
absolutely,
you know, be damned.
So do you remember that very first review of White Sugar. So we've got to this point, and I was looking back through the reviews and the comments early on, and it said the main review came out and it just said a spectacular debut from a major talent. So even back then on day
My dad
one,
wrote that one though, so kind of biased.
So what pushes you then as an artist to continually strive to be better, to build and to improve and not be complacent?
I think for me, it's kind of linked in with the journey of my life, in that that's what this is. This isn't for me. I mean, of course it's about the music, but what I mean to say is, albums are really just a snapshot of 1 week of my life in any given year. And, if we'd recorded these 11 songs a week after we recorded them, even with the same band and the same producer in the same studio, it would have been slightly different because we would have all been in different headspaces. Maybe it would have been stressed that week or more happy that week. So it's really kind of, for me, all my albums are, it's lovely to look back at White Sugar and go, okay, what was 22-year-old Joanne living through? What was 24-year-old Joanne, 30-year-old Joanne? So it's more about challenging myself to grow as a person. I sound more relaxed now on album. I sound more confident about, what, I like pop songs, so why don't I just record one? And just more happy in myself and understanding of myself. So I hope that continues. The one thing I've always wanted to be is be authentic, be my...
You said that, this previously again, that humility is the most important character trait for a musician. Is that still the case now as you've travelled a few more years?
I think it's the most important for me, and it's really helped me. I think for a long time I couldn't figure out the live performance aspect in terms of how to connect with an audience, because I wasn't a natural performer. There are some people who are born performers and they will figure out how to play whatever instrument, and it doesn't matter whether it's keyboard or guitar, they're just meant to be a performer. And there are some people like me that wanted to hide in their bedroom and play guitar by themselves because it was an excuse not to have to leave the house, because I was terribly shy, and then I had to turn that into a, hey, I'm on stage, look at me. So I think I've figured that out by realising my only way of connecting to the audience that is unique to me is that I am me, and I can, why not talk about the songs and what they're written about, because they're very personal to me, and kind of get that connection with people. So I think being authentic and having humility is very important to me. I don't know if I can say that of other artists. It's up to them, I suppose.
So let's talk about the new album, Black and Gold. 1 year on, literally almost to the week from Heavy Soul. Now, you said that I want every album of mine to be different. I like to see change and I like to see growth, and there is an abundance of all of those things and more on what is, I think, to some way your best work, isn't it?
I don't know. It's honestly hard to be objective when you live inside it and you hear the songs start from one chord progression to one chord progression and a melody to one, to a full band and a mastered piece of music. But yeah, I mean, that's what I've aimed to do. Again, it goes back to, I'm a different person now than I was when I recorded White Sugar, so I want it all to sound like me, but it's kind of a reflection of me at different parts of my life. So, I'm glad that I don't still sound like a 22-year-old. I've done 22. I want to know what 42, feels like. But again, I've tried very hard to always put out things that just feel right to me, because at least then, there's a lot of artists that sort of chase trends, what's cool, what's going to sell. And it's, by the time you've caught up with that, the trend has changed. So I think for me, I've, managed to put out work that suited me at the time, which is sort of the best I can hope for. And I'm very happy with it. And it seems to be going down well with fans. So that's...
Prior to this, again, I was looking back at things that you've said about songs that you've written and the most therapeutic song you ever wrote. There he is, Hank's awake.
Yeah, he's literally just woken up, shaked, and decided to bark at us. Yep, hush, mate.
The most therapeutic thing that you wrote was Reckless Heart, and then there was Dirt and Diamonds. And this album,
God, that was a long time ago now.
Yeah, but this album, you're exposing even more of you and your life and its experiences, especially surrounding friendships and relationships. And yeah, there's no easy sort of way into this album, is there? Because it's, it is there literally from track one, Hold My Heart. I mean, it's like, it's straight on, and it's very, very personal.
Yeah, I mean, some songs are very, very personal. And again, that comes back down to the kind of viewing this album as a closing of a door and an opening of a new one, and what songs hadn't I written that I wanted to write? What subject matter did I want to address for me personally so that I could close the door on it and not take that kind of negativity into the next decade?
There's a lot to contend with. I mean,
it's been a long 20 years. But I mean, so some things there are some songs that are deeply personal. Grey Shade of Blue, which is about a friendship for the last 5 years that was for the first 10, from about 22 to 36, was a very important friendship to me. Someone I lived with, was with on a daily basis. And then all of a sudden nothing, and haven't heard from them for 5 years. So it was about giving myself that closure and not taking it, forward with me. I'm not going to get closure from them, so why don't I give it to myself and kind of accept that is, you don't want to carry that negativity around with you. And then there's some songs that, all of the things I said's a good example. It's about a relationship I had years ago, I've written about before, but kind of wanted to put it to bed in that, I've softened with age, and you can kind of reflect now, and I feel differently about it now than I did 10 years ago. I can admit, I can see things now that I did wrong, and I'm happy to kind of say it. So that song's sort of about that. It's kind of actually, I've never apologised for this, and this. I'm sorry, but also could you do the same reflection and maybe admit that you shouldn't have done this and this. And just again, kind of closing that chapter. So but again, that's the whole point of writing songs for me. That's how I taught myself to write songs.
Sure.
The first song I ever wrote that I figured out how to write lyrics was Going Home, which was it's a suicide note. A friend of mine at school committed suicide when she was 12. And I'd never had any closure to that. And I figured out how to give myself closure. And that sort of opened up the world of, this is how I write a song. It's for me to, express myself. So, I mean, that's the only way I know how to write. Yeah.
There is a lot of vulnerability in some of the lyrical content, but it is countered by this extraordinarily intense playing. It's like, on the one side we have this very emotional message, and you're countering that with some real, anger almost.
A bit of a juxtaposition.
Yeah, I mean, completely. It's just like, right, okay, so I'm going to let you know that. But this is just to let you know that, by the way, we are going down, we're going down swinging.
Yeah. I'm still angry. Well, you can take the girl out the black country. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the funny thing as well, is I think people are surprised. I think sometimes people put me in that Adele camp of like, oh God, you must have just a disastrous relationship every year in order to do an album. And it's like, no, it's the same two relationships I'm still writing about. And I'm genuinely very, very happy because I get to write songs about it and then scream them into a microphone whilst playing obnoxiously loud guitar. It's the best therapy in the world. I'm probably the happiest person in the world, apart from when Hank starts barking, which is probably going to happen any second now.
Brilliant. So were you back in the RCA studios, by the way?
We were, yeah, which I love.
Which is your favourite venue, isn't it?
Oh, it's so magical. I mean, it's just a brilliant room anyway. But then when you add in, Dolly Parton wrote and recorded I Will Always Love You and Jolene there on the same day. So I'm not a religious person, but there are some churches, particularly in Southern Europe, you go in and those bricks that are hundreds and hundreds of years old hold something. Like, you feel it. It's a heaviness. It's the history that's been there before you. And I think RCA is like that for me. It's almost like a church. You
Do
know,
you get
Waylon
those
Jennings.
moments, when you arrive first thing in the morning, or when you're setting up, or when you're turning the lights off at
Not
night, and
first
you
thing in the
turn
morning,
around
because I'm
and
very cranky and trying to wrangle Hank into the studio. But yeah, definitely, like, I love that hour of, say, like 5 o'clock. We usually get in about 10 a.m. and we're probably wrapping up for the day and just trying something fun that we might continue the next day. So the pressure's off and everyone's got a glass of wine and they turn the fairy lights on and it's like, wow. Waylon got drunk with Johnny Cash in here. I don't know why they let me in, but I'm very happy they did.
so you are, by your own admission, a blues guitarist with a bit of a pop sound to some of the lyrics and to some of the songs. And we get that in this album as well. It isn't all about doom and gloom and relationships that went wrong, because there's a lot of other things in there as well. All the things I should have said, by the way, which is a real earworm of a track.
Oh, good. That was one of my favourites. And fortunately, my good friend Joe Bonamassa swung in the studio to see Hank, so I sort of said, well, why are you here? There's a guitar over there. And he put down a beautiful solo on it, which was fun. But yeah, it's, I've always said, as you just rightly said, I'm a blues guitarist that's a soul singer that likes writing pop songs. And it wasn't intentional. I didn't go, I'll make more money from playing pop songs. It was, I've always said I think I would have been a different artist if I'd have been born a man, because guitar was my first love, blues guitar. Tended to be predominantly male. But the thing is, the guitar is a gender-neutral instrument. I could try and steal a bit of B.B. King and kind of sound like him and a bit of Albert Collins. Whereas when I tried to teach myself to sing, I was never going to sing like Howlin' Wolf or Freddie King or Albert, any of the guys. So I had to find female voices to sort of copy, and they tended to be outside of the blues. There was Bonnie Raitt and Coco Taylor, but, there was Tina Turner and Aretha Franklin and Stevie Nicks and Sheryl Crow.
How much work does it take you to set yourself up vocally to perform? Because listening to you talk, you are never prepared for what comes when you listen to you sing. And so, I get the impression that there is an awful lot of effort that goes into this, because it's not a question of you walking in, picking up a mic and just, singing away. It's like two completely different people. And it is a constant source of amazement. I mean, honestly, listening to you talk and then hearing you sing, you would think it was two completely different people.
Yeah, thank God. If I sang with my, yeah, I'm all right, we're having a hell of a good time, I wouldn't have sold many albums. It's not, it's at this point, and again, it was, the best way of describing it is it's like it's being fluent in 2 languages. I can only speak English, but I understand from friends who speak multiple languages that it's very easy for them to just switch into thinking French.
Yeah.
If they're conversing in French. And you don't have to think about it. It's very natural. And at this point, it's very natural to me. It's not something I have to go like, oh, I'm acting, so I have to get into the accent. And that's how I taught myself to sing, was because I only knew how I taught myself to play guitar, which was by listening and just trying to copy everything they were doing on one note. So I do the same with one word. So I, have an American accent when I sing, because I learned from Tina Turner and Aretha Franklin, and they, I copied everything. But it's like that. It's like teaching yourself a language. So it is natural. It's not, because I would hate to think it's like an act, No.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I'll tell you who it did remind me of, and I kept getting this as I was listening to various tracks off of the whole album. Was Macy Gray.
Oh, I love that album. Was stonking. Well, that's the other reason I kind of got into writing other pop stuff, because as well was that when I was 17 and I was trying to find those female artists, because I wasn't going to sing about Good Morning Little Schoolgirl. I needed something else. That was such a massive moment in pop for like Macy Gray and Angie Stone and Jill Scott. But yeah, she's got a cracking voice, such a out there voice. It's almost like a Louis Armstrong or something. Yeah, it's
which is exactly the same as yours. I have to say, the best track, or the standout track for me right here was Who's Gonna Love Me Now.
Oh, good. That's my personal one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, the grief, the love, the moving on, but it kicks off with that really, really hypnotic drum beat that just starts really slowly.
Anton Fig.
And then, before you realize, and then your voice is at its best on that track. I just thought it was an incredible moment. And the
well, I mean, props to Kevin and Anton Fig on that. And that's why I'm really glad I've never been afraid to kind of mix blues with a bit of pop, because we wouldn't have had that song if, sure. Kevin and Anton went, hey, let's take this down. I mean, the demo was very similar to that, but they kind of added in this percussion, almost Peter Gabriel style touch to it. And I think it would have been good without it, but I think it took it into another arena, and that's thanks to those two incredible talents. So, I'm fond of that one. Though I will say, it also reminds me of when I wrote the demo. I kind of left it alone for a couple hours because I just really was getting in my own head with it. And I went out and met Joe and had a few too many martinis and came back and started listening to it and was sitting on the sofa. And I just could hear the Who's Gonna Love Me Now going round and round. And I was looking at Hank and he's only 2, but started worrying about him dying one day and was like crying, going, Who's Gonna Love Me Now? And Hank looking at me like, dude,
were they classic martinis, by the way, or were they vodka martinis or Vespa martinis?
The Joe Bonamassa special, which I never drink. I usually have like a glass of wine. I'm not a spirits drinker. I'm not very good at drinking. But Joe has it's basically a glass of Grey Goose with a lemon peel in it. Yeah, it's a massive glass of vodka with a lemon peel in it. And I think I'd had 2 of them, and was just like, yeah. Should have probably needed an IV the next day.
There is feel-good stuff here as well. I mean, Summer of Love has got that sort of very nostalgic, could have been 70s, 80s, summer pop song.
Yeah, again, going back to what haven't I done that I want to kind of do now and wrap up the 10 years. And I was like, I've never written one of those songs that comes on in the car in summer that you really want to hear, put the windows down and just almost One Direction cheesy pop song. I was like, oh, screw it. I want a cheesy pop song, one every 10 years. So yeah, I was pretty happy how that turned out. And the video was really fun to shoot as well.
And then, it does go back to relationships. And then we go to this point in time in your life, as Hank comes into the picture.
Yeah, sorry, he's decided.
No, it's great. Listen, people love.
He's been jumping up and down on me under the table. I was like, oh God, here we go.
So you've got to that point in time where on Look What I've Become, this sort of reflection on borderline addiction, I suppose.
Yeah, it was interesting writing that song because it was actually like a really up-tempo, finger-picked flamenco piece I've sort of written, almost in like a Big Love Lindsey Buckingham sort of vein.
Yeah.
And I never knew how to turn it into a song, and then I played it to Kevin just to get his ideas, and he slowed it down. He's like, let's make it a minor key blues, and keep the chord progression. So obviously when it came to writing lyrics, I knew they were going to have to be relatively introspective and dark, given the nature of the music. And at the time, I'd had a very dear friend that had finally asked for help, and thank God they did, and has been sober a while now. And obviously, unfortunately, being in the industry, I do know quite a few people who've suffered with the awful disease that addiction is. And it's just about getting to that point, really, where realising this ends one way, and it's not a very good way. It ends with me losing my life, whenever that may be, but I will go down to this, or that one final push that finally, you do manage to crack through and get better. So it was kind of a tribute to all my dear friends and people I know who've, suffered with that.
Produced by Kevin Shirley again. Now, you two have become very good friends, mates, I think is the term that you've used, because you've worked together for so long. And the best thing about him, you say, is the fact that he is relaxed and easy to work with. There isn't any ego involved.
Oh, I didn't say there wasn't any ego.
Oh, did you?
No, I'm joking. Yeah, I mean, he's brilliant. He's one of my best mates. He's actually just moving to Nashville, so I should be seeing a lot more of him. But yeah, it's like working with your big brother, and he knows what the songs are about. You know, he's met the people they're about. So to have that kind of level of trust that in him musically, but also personally, that he knows who I am as an artist and as a person, what the songs are about, what they mean to me. You know, it's a really beneficial thing. And plus then I get to go hang out with my best friend at dinner and try not to drink vodka martinis with him because he's a burly Australian man and I'm a small lady from the Black Country.
You've had this strategy of releasing tracks every month. Again, this is the second album that it's gone on, because you did it on the Heavy Soul as well. So you're never really out of the public eye. There's a constant drip feed of product coming through. Now, this was Joe and Roy's idea. But you like it because it gives you more creative freedom.
I think it takes the pressure off a little bit, because obviously up until now, it's like we don't talk about my music for a year to 18 months, and then all of a sudden there's 12 tracks for people to review. Whereas kind of drip feeding it out like this, it means I can kind of do a more poppy song, because in 3 or 4 weeks' time I can release something more rocky and bluesy, and I kind of feel like I'm forgiven more of, you know, as opposed to when it's reviewed in bulk. So it kind of takes the pressure off a little bit. So yeah, I have been enjoying it. I mean, who knows how long that will last, but I am for the moment enjoying that.
But we've got this album coming out in full in the next few days. But the best part of the next album is already done. You've got 3 tracks you're going in to do in August. You're working on an EP thing over the last couple of weeks. I mean, that's quite an incredible turnaround.
Yeah. My dad keeps saying this to me, but he says it more in like are you okay? Should you be doing this much? Are you well? Seems to be worried about me, and it's been easy so far. I say easy. It's not been too much. I think a large part of that is, again, from being shut down so long with COVID. I'd been going for years, to suddenly have 2 to almost 3 years off. And when I did do an album, it was a covers album. You know, I'm almost playing catch up, I think. So right now it's working, and a lot of that I think is also being in Nashville. I moved down here and there's so much creativity, you know, and the people you're meeting for dinner are Joe Bonamassa and Tyler Bryant and Kevin Shirley, and, you know, friends that are in the industry. It's hard not to sort of keep that motivation going.
Yeah, it's funny because the next thing I was going to say was, is it because basically you live in what is now the music capital, which has moved really, hasn't it, from LA? And you wake up and you are cocooned in this creative environment. And, you know, I mean, you literally live around the corner from Joe, don't you?
So we are next door neighbours. I'm actually going over there shortly because there's a bird that's died on his patio, and I want to get rid of it so it's not up there for 3 months before he comes up. But yeah, I mean, it's funny as well. Nashville, it's a big city, but it feels like a small town, and particularly because the blues or blues rock genre is quite its own little tight knit community.
Yeah.
You know, it is, and so many people have moved here. We all do kind of reach out to each other. So there's Joe and me and Marcus King and Tyler and Rebecca and Megan. Rebecca is married to Tyler from Larkin Poe. And obviously I have Hank now, so they're all very interested in seeing him, which means we get a lot more dinner dates than we used to, or invites than we used to.
So you're back in the UK very soon, firstly for Made in Stone, which was formerly Ramblin' Man.
Mm-hmm.
Your first festival appearance, I mean, are you aware of how long ago this is now? 23 years ago, you appeared for the first time at a festival at the fabulously titled Blue Balls Festival in Lucerne.
Wow.
When B.B. King was on the bill. Dave Stewart was also on the bill for that. But does it feel like it was like yesterday, or is it something you've completely forgotten?
No, I mean, well, worse than that, the first gig was actually, the first festival I ever did was, I was 15, so what's that, 25 years? 25 years ago, and it was a competition. There used to be a festival called Bishopstock that was a really big blues festival down in Devon that came for a couple of years and then disappeared, but they had a competition for like under 16-year-olds to play, right. And you could win a main stage slot. So that was my first festival. I didn't win, but I did get to meet Andy Cortez, who was another 15-year-old blues guitarist, who now is a really amazing session player and well-respected guitar player in London. So that was funny. But yeah, that feels like a different lifetime ago.
And we have just announced the live dates in the UK in September, beginning in Bath on the 24th. Now, when you get back to these shores, do you feel like an English artist returning back to your home, or do you feel like an American artist who's visiting?
No, I very much feel like an English artist that's at home, which is sometimes, I know that's confusing for me, and it's also confusing for the fans, because the tour dates, I am a US-based artist coming to the UK.
Yeah.
So it's not like I can do as many dates as regularly as if I lived in the UK, but I still feel like a UK artist. So it is a strange... and then there's always the, phone calls I got a lot of phone calls this morning from people in Wolverhampton that are already inviting themselves to a free show dinner. Which is fair enough. I don't get to go home too often, so it's sweet that they make the effort to come see me while they can.
And Wolverhampton is pretty much where it began, where your live journey as a pro began at the Robin. And I mean, that was 2000, so it was 24 years ago, that was. And that first live song that you played, which was
longer, I was 14.
Don't Lose Your Cool.
Yeah, it was an instrumental because I wasn't singing, because I was about 14. I've been playing a year. And it was the original Robin, which I'm
not the Robin 2, which
not
came
the Robin
later.
2, which Mike did a wonderful job with. Yep, still here. But the Robin one was, by the way, I'm not a big fan of dogs licking you, but anyone who owns a dachshund will know you don't really get a say.
I've seen it. It's you sitting in the passenger seat, and the car he was all
It's very much a dachshund thing. They, I think apparently it's Susan or something. But anyway, yeah, the original Robin was like a juke joint. You went through this sort of pub to the back room, and like it was one of those places where your feet stuck to the floor because of all the spilled beer.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And then Sheffy on the way out would give you a port bap.
And there was another place. There was another fabulously named place that you played as well, called Riff Raffs.
Oh God,
Swindon.
Oh yeah, that's been years. I remember that because
still exists.
I don't know. I always remember that one because Dave Stewart's then PA, Sean Sharma, which I always thought was a brilliant name. Turns out her dad was a massive fan of me, so she always sent him to the gigs, and they lived in Swindon, so it was always... It's always those things you remember because it's been so long and there's been so many that, and I don't have the best memory anyway. You kind of, things stick out more when you have friends there or something ridiculous happens.
And can you quite believe that you have performed just short of 1,100 live shows? I think the exact number at the moment is 1,086, if I counted them right. That is hugely impressive, especially if you consider the time we've had off in between due to COVID and everything. That's a remarkable amount of live work.
That is. And actually, I should remember that figure because for some reason people say I cancel a lot of gigs when probably I've cancelled, ignoring COVID and having to cancel gigs because we didn't know, you were basically booking gigs hoping the world would be open, and you get a month out and the world wouldn't be open, so you'd pick it up and move it. But I've probably cancelled like 20 gigs in my life, which is, percentage, most people take more sick days than that.
And out of all of those shows, right, I mean, I know obviously you're going to remember all of them, but do you have any standout moments, memories of your favourite venue that you played, or the time that you did something, or you performed a specific track, or you had you sold out a particular venue?
I think it's more because I hope this doesn't sound horrible, but when you tour that much and you kind of get off a bus and everything kind of blends into one, and you tend to remember what's got the good dressing rooms. Can you do laundry here? Because you're spending 18 hours in that venue and you only spend an hour and a half on stage. And when you're on the road, it's like, oh, thank God this place has got laundry. I remember the showers are really good here. But in terms of the gigs I kind of look back on most fondly, I think now it's those early days of you know, and particularly since we lost mum a long time ago, mum and dad shutting me down the motorway and me being in the back of the car, you know, kind of them going, all right, well, you don't have to go to school tomorrow. I'm just like, you know, kind of like
That
those
is
nice
very
memories.
cool.
But
That
yeah,
is very
those
cool.
early family memories that obviously I'll never get back. They were just really nice times. We, you know, discovered a whole new world, and everyone was lovely for the most part, you know. Everyone was really welcoming and encouraging, and particularly to my mum and dad, who, you know, they didn't know what they were doing, how to manage a 13-year-old blues guitarist. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't like that was in the parenting handbook. And we met some brilliant artists, you know, Connie Lush and the Hamsters and the Hoax, and, you know, all the British blues greats on the scene at the time. Ainsley Lister, Ian Parker.
Ainsley Lister, yeah, remember him. And
Yeah.
so then, as you come into this new decade, what are the objectives then for you going forward? Is there something specific that you want to achieve? Is there something that somebody rather you want to play with, or a venue that you'd like to sell out, or a festival that you'd love to do?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always bucket list things. You know, I'd like to increase the audience. You know, it'd be nice to get to that sort of 1,500 in the States, because then tends to open up more of those old theatres that I've, you know, not been in, and, you know, discover that circuit. I'd love to play Carnegie Hall, of course. You know, that would be a great bucket list. That would be a nice thing for my niece and nephew when I'm gone, you know, to tell their kids that your Auntie Jojo played Carnegie Hall. You know, things like that matter more to you as you get older. It's what are you leaving behind for you know, the little ones.
You've got a bit of a way to go yet. I mean, you have only just celebrated your 40th.
I know, but it's musician years. But yeah, mostly I think I just want to keep, you know, finding the balance between, you know, working and happiness, you know, and I'm very lucky that I've got a great team of people around me that I consider family as well as work colleagues. I've got wonderful friends. So yeah, I mean, that's more important than anything, isn't it? I mean, that's what success is. It's being happy and healthy.
And lastly, then the obvious star of the show, because your life has changed since Hank has come to town.
Now I'm a single mother.
Of your social media posts and the videos, is he going to be coming to the UK?
He is. He won't be coming to the festivals in the summer because that's a bit too many flights to put him through. But yes, he's coming on the tour bus in September. So yeah, it won't be his first time. Actually, he's been before. He's met all the family. We were there for Christmas as well. So I do wonder what he thinks, because he basically sits on my lap for 10 hours and then we get off a plane and he's got no idea he's in a foreign country. He just thinks we've been sitting down for 10 hours. So,
what about the merchandise? Because I have seen you do the Hank
Oh, my Hank hat. That was a present off a friend. I actually have been going over Hank T-shirt designs about an hour ago with the merch crew at J&R. So there may be a surprise in there. It'll sell out.
Well, that was Joanne Shaw Taylor talking to me earlier this week. The new album is out Friday, June 6th, and head over to Joanne's website for full details of the tour and ticket details for all of the remaining dates this year. And that is it. Thank you very much for joining me and watching on this show. Don't forget you can catch up with all of the previous editions on the website, www.therockandbluesexperience.com, also on the Facebook page and the YouTube channel and all other social media channels. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, from me, Tim Caple. Bye-bye for now.